Welcome back to Harvard. The crazies are still on the rise. A study by the Southern Poverty Law Center finds that the number of anti-government patriot groups has exploded over the last 4 years. According to the study, these groups typically believe that the federal government is conspiring to take Americans' guns away from them and destroy their liberties as it paves the way for a global one-world government. Well, these are groups like the Constitution Party, We Are Change, Tyranny Response Team, and Americans for a Free Republic. And these anti-government patriot groups have skyrocketed in number during President Obama's time in office. There were only 149 groups back in 2008. In 2012, there are more than 1,300, and that's an increase of over 800%. Look at the chart there. Yesterday, the Southern Poverty Law Center sent a letter to Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano and Attorney General Eric Holder warning that the gun control debate may lead to even more such groups being founded. Mark Podak is a respected guy for us. He's with the Southern Poverty Law Center, and Brian Levin is with the Center for the Study of Hate and Extremism at California State University, San Bernardino. Gentlemen, I want you to start tonight. It's your report, Mark, so lead the way here. Let me ask you this. I'm going to get into this in my close tonight on the show, which I feel a lot. I look at Obama as a perfect American. I don't mean politically. We can disagree left and right on him. You can argue about the drones, argue about the fiscal policy, all that stuff. But as a citizen, the guy went to school. He never broke a law. He did everything right. He raised a wonderful family. He's a good husband, a good father. My God, I don't think he's ever got a speeding ticket. The guy does everything right. And these right-wing, and he's really been pretty moderate on guns until the horror of Newtown. And I don't know what they're so afraid of him for, except he happens to be black. Is there some reason why he has sparked this explosion in right-wing organizing?
Well, I think, like you say, Chris, I mean, it has to do with his color. What I would say is that with a lot of these groups, it's not visceral Klan-like racism. It's not, we want to send black people back to Africa or something along those lines. It's more like I look at the White House, I see a black man there, I feel the culture's changing all around me. By the way, the economy's terrible, I can't get a job, or I'm afraid I'm going to lose the one I do have. And it kind of all melds together in a feeling of, I've lost my country. Somehow this is not the country that my forefathers created. So I think there's a real heavy dose of racism in there, but it's only a piece of the mix.
Let me argue that. There's so much of America that remains traditional. Small-town American life is very much small-town American life. Our religions are still our religions. I mean, movies can be racy, but you don't have to go to movies. You can ignore their existence. Television's pretty tame. What is it that really rocks them? What it really makes them, my God, it's not like my life anymore. What is it? I'm still looking for it. I understand when communities change ethnically. That's always been a concern of people who've lived there a long time. When something new, it's hard to accept sometimes. But these people live out in the Rocky Mountain areas. They live up in the Northwest. There's not much ethnic change going on in their lives, is it? Is there?
Well, there's ethnic change going on in more places than you'd think, first of all. I live in Alabama, which used to be a state essentially of white people and black people, and there's now a very substantial Hispanic, Latino population. So there's that, but there's also discomfort with cultural changes like, for instance, same-sex marriage. Obviously, increasing majorities of Americans are in favor or don't oppose same-sex marriage. But for a lot of people, something like that is a very tough pill to swallow. It makes them feel that they live in a kind of a brave new world. Yeah. So certainly it's true. I mean, you don't have to watch racy TV. You don't have to sort of see Madonna on MTV or whatever it is. And yet I think there's a feeling that things are changing and changing very quickly.
Well, luckily for us, our marriages really involved a relationship between two people, me and somebody else, my wife, my queen, and that has very little to do with anybody else, luckily. Let me go to you, Brian. I mean, the way I'm chalking this up, this right-wing hysteria, if you will, maybe it's logical on their point of view, the way they're thinking about demographic change, but guns, immigration, and gays, is that your reading that those are the stimuli to these people when they decide to organize these hate groups?
I think it's a lot of it, but I think we have to put it in a context. The folklore of the far right, and I'm not talking about Mitt Romney supporters. I'm talking about people who have opted out of our political process. And that's what's problematic. These people see the terra firma under them as shifting, something that anchored them before they no longer see as anchoring them.
Who do they root for? Who do they root for?
They don't root for anybody now.
They don't root for Rand Paul, Pat Buchanan. I mean, who? They must like this new guy, Ted Cruz. They must love Ted Cruz. Come on.
Look, I think you hit a nerve. And what that is there is now a part of mainstream politics which aligns with these kind of conspiracy theories, and they're getting away from what are traditional conservative Republican anchors. That is small government, personal responsibility, the idea that we are part of a political process, and if we didn't win this time, we'll try again. Now we're hearing secession.
I like the way you talk.
We're hearing... Yes,
that makes sense. But what happened to the guys, the crazy, I call them crazy because they have so much evidence to the contrary. Why is Louis Gohmert of Texas over and over again talking about birtherism? Why is Donald Trump, with the sophistication of New York City around him, I'm going to get back to you on this, Mark, why does he keep pandering to these haters? Every time a guy with the money and the background and all the advantages of life, the beautiful wife, the children, he has everything going for him. And they can always point to a guy like that and say, he's not facing financial problems. He's not facing marital problems. He's got it made, and he believes all the nutty stuff I believe. He panders to them. What is that? How does that fit into this stuff?
Well, I mean, who in the world is to say what Donald Trump really believes? I mean, I think that the reason people act the way they do in large part is because there's a base out there. I also think that there's a kind of reverse part of this equation, which is that characters like Donald Trump, like a Lou Dobbs, formerly on TV, there are a number of people out there who are essentially acting as transmitters, who are bringing ideas from the very, very far fringes of the society into the mainstream. So we've got birtherism, we've got truthers, we've got all kinds of conspiracy.
I agree. I'm hearing the same music from the more sophisticated and the least sophisticated, but it's the same music. The government's no good. It's out to get you. It's out to grab your guns. The country's turning brown and black, and you got nothing to do, and you're becoming irrelevant and gay, and you've got nothing to do with it. It is, it's not all the messages of Trump. He just sells the fact that our president is from another country and basically snuck into this country, somehow pretended to be who he is, and it's all a fraud. Well, I think that's pretty dangerous talk, too. Your thoughts,
Brian? That's right.
Brian.
I think it's worth adding how important...
One of the things that I think that we're seeing here on both sides of the political spectrum, and I think it's important to recognize that. Now, we certainly have a risk of violence and terrorism, more so from the extreme right wing.
Who on the left is talking nutty right now? Give me some examples of nutty talk.
Charles Barron is talking nutty from the left. The truthers are talking nutty from the left. So we have Alex Jones on the right. We have Charles Barron on the left. We have the people with Anonymous, with all kinds of conspiracy theories. One thing that I think is important, and that is conspiracy theories and a decoupling from the institutions and processes of our pluralistic democracy are occurring on both sides of the political spectrum. So we're hearing almost an equal number of people who say Bush was the Antichrist, as is Obama possibly the Antichrist.
I don't think it's symmetric. I don't buy that it's symmetric because there are a lot more birthers than there are truthers.
Public policy polling.
That's right. The idea that there's an equivalency of the far left and the far right, I think, is just ridiculous.
There is an equivalency,
I agree with Brian,
not with respect to the terrorist threat,
theories on both sides.
With respect to the threat that the internet and
Brian,
the way
that
we are having dialogue. We have conspiracists on the left. Look at the truthers. Look at all this kind of stuff on the left. We have it on the right as well. What I agree with Mark is that it is much more mainstream with regard to the institutions of the mainstream
the Republicans put in their
movement.
platform. That's the difference. Mark, your last thought,
yes,
quickly.
Absolutely. I agree with you both on that.
Yeah, just that. I mean, look, it's the Republican Party that has adopted, for instance, the Agenda 21 conspiracy, the idea that there's a UN plot to strip away private property rights. It's just ridiculous to describe the extreme left at this point in our history as equivalent to the extreme right.
We're going to have more on this as the year goes on. Mark Podak.
With regard to terrorism risk, but with regard to what they're doing, yes, there is.
Brian, we'll have you back, too. Brian Levin, thank you so much, gentlemen. Up next, if Hillary Clinton runs for president, she's got to run on her record, of course, as Secretary of State. And what was her biggest diplomatic achievement? So I'm going to get to the hardcore of the Hillary achievement of the last 4 years. We've got an expert coming here, and this is Hardball, the place for politics.